What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Yesterday, we talked about Mark Carney, essentially making an "I don't care" moment at Donald Trump. He, well, he does it. In fact, if you look here, I'll show you in a second. It's actually still trending in Canada at the time of filming this video, even a day later. Carney just can't win here. Things really aren't going his way. He's scared of Donald Trump. Let's take a look. This post, courtesy of the National Roast, I love this. Where in the world is Carney San Diego? I think they need to put this on a shirt or something. At least bumper stickers. I think this is amazing. I love the work that the National Roast does. Go follow the National Roast on X if you haven't already. We've showcased this channel a number of times here. They're absolutely amazing. Go and check. Well, Mark Carney's now talking about going over to Washington. He doesn't want to deal with Canada anymore. He said some nasty things. He said, let's bring in Donald. He said a lot of nasty things about Donald. He said many nasty things. Not a very nice guy, I gotta be honest. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada, okay? But I don't like Mark Carney. I think he's terrible. Let's Let's check in here. National News Watch saying Carney weighing DC trip next week after dismissing questions about speaking to Trump. We've had discussions. I've been busy, Carney said when pressed for details. Notice they don't highlight that he said, "Who cares?" when talking about Donald Trump. Mark Carney is tanking the economy faster than anybody could. We've seen thousands of jobs flood out of the country. We've seen offices moving to the United States for greener pastures. Mark Carney's now shaking in his boots. This is the thing about Mark Carney is, and it's the one thing that still struggles me with how stupid the voters around Toronto and Southern Ontario that vote Liberal are. Because they seem to, it just doesn't matter how weak Mark Carney looks, they still say, no problem, we'll vote for him. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, even though, he's spending and spending and spending. Investment is leaving, money is leaving the country. We have no GDP. That's okay. Elbows up, everybody. Mark Carney's scared. He's physically scared. Take a look at this here. Canada Proud tweeting out, Carney doesn't care how Trump's tariffs impact your life. He's now saying so himself with the I don't care statement. Take a look at this clip.
I look forward to speaking to the president soon, but I don't have a burning issue to speak with the president about right now. Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters.
I'll speak to him again when it matters. Well, now he's shaking in his boots to head over to Washington, D.C. In fact, news coming over from Mark Nixon I want to share with you. He's awaiting for the leaked audio of Mark Carney saying he hates Canada and can't wait to move back to Europe when everything is done. Of course, the lefties already melting down below. I will keep you guys updated if Mark Nixon breaks this audio recording. It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me. You know he hates Canada by the way he's treating it. Let's take a look at this news article regardless that the good old Clown Broadcasting Corporation has put out about Mark Carney. Carney weighing DC trip next week after dismissing questions about speaking to good old President Trump. He wants to snub him. He wants to tell Trump, hey, I don't need your deals. I don't need anything. Canada's just fine without the Donald. It's okay. We got our lollipops. We're going to be okay. Prime Minister Mark Carney dodged questions about the last time he spoke to U.S. counterparts Sunday, saying who cares when pressed by reporters. Still, a spokesperson for Carney said Monday he's considering a trip to Washington next week to attend the draw for the FIFA World Cup. No, he's going there to pucker up, which Canada, U.S., and Mexico are jointly hosting in 2026. That draw set to take place at the Kennedy Center, Performing Arts Center in the U.S. President Donald Trump now personally controls, will determine the group stage matches for the major soccer tournament. Canada-U.S. trade talks broke down abruptly last month after Trump lashed out at Canada over Ontario Premier Doug Ford's anti-tariff ad campaign that invoked Ronald Reagan. We all know how that turned out. Speaking to the press in Johannesburg at the end of the visit to the Middle East and Africa to bolster trade ties and meet with G20 leaders, Carney said he's been preoccupied in recent weeks with crafting a federal budget and securing investment in Canada, both which he failed at. He's done none of it. Calgary and his government has sought to distance themselves from Trump, his ad-induced tirade against Canada, pursuing closer ties with oil-rich Gulf countries and a trade agreement with India. So here's the thing, folks. Here, for all my American viewers watching, it's so funny how the CBC, who are the propaganda arm of the Liberal government, they take tax dollars. They take the tax dollars from Mark Carney. They pay their bills by political influence. They'll push any message about Donald Trump that they want, that they think is going to help with their readers, that's going to help push the liberal base. It's so sad. They say that he's been crafting a federal budget and securing investment in Canada. They might as well say he's also stabled a bunch of unicorns that people are going to mount with saddles, because much like the budget and investment in Canada, none of them exist. We've had discussions. I've been busy, Carney said, when asked about his connecting with Donald Trump. He's got other things to do and will re-engage when it's appropriate. Well, while thousands of jobs are running away from the country and businesses are shutting their doors as a result of your lack of leadership, you think this would be a top priority. Nope. I got to go watch the draw for FIFA World Cup. Again, asked to detail when he last spoke to Trump, Carney said, "Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters." Conservatives pounced on that quip Monday, saying Carney's dismissive response has left tariff-hit industries and workers in the lurch. Pierre Poilievre said Carney was elected, saying he was best placed to handle the existential threat of American tariffs, and since then he has backed down and capitulated and secured no deal for tariff relief. In fact, he has boosted what we would have been paying in tariffs. Carney had an elbows-up approach to the U.S. when stumping for votes, and now his elbows are missing, Poilievre said. He said there's no issues of importance to discuss. In fact, he said, who cares? We care about the workers who have lost their jobs and don't have paychecks to make their mortgage payments. Why doesn't he care? Poilievre said in a question. Well, again, this goes back to the leaked audio call that Mark Nixon's talking about getting his hands on, of Mark Carney saying he hates Canada and he can't wait to go back to Europe when everything is done. Well, that's why he doesn't care about Canada. He's just here to line his pockets and get rich. That's why he doesn't care. Conservatives also disseminated a written statement to reporters saying Carney's flippant attitude in South Africa matches his results for Canadians. The Prime Minister's term has been marked by a series of unilateral concessions without real results in return. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc, who was leading the trade negotiations until they went sideways, said Poilievre's comments were nonsense. Of course, the Prime Minister cares about the well-being of workers and industry. Okay, let's see that. Just because the leader of the opposition keeps repeating the same line over and over again doesn't make it real. I do agree that it's a little bit of a circus when it comes to question period. It's all scripted, it's all theater, but he has a point. We don't have any results. What is real is the stalled tariff talks and the poor state of relations between the two countries. While the Carney-Trump relationship started off on good footing earlier this year, their most recent public interaction featured the Prime Minister apologizing to the President for Ontario Reagan's ad. He accepted the apology when I spoke to him, Carney said on Sunday. Ontario's representative in Washington, D.C., David Patterson, said while formal talks have stalled, outreach continues in the U.S. Capitol, where there's an increasing focus on bolstering ties with Congress. CUSMA is up for review next year, and any move by Trump to tear up that deal would have to go through the House of Representatives and the Senate, which must approve international treaties like this one. I don't think that's going to be an issue. In fact, Canada had better start getting scared about when that's due up in, January? Patterson said Canada negotiators should be heartened by what U.S. companies have already told the Trump administration about that deal, that most written submissions urging U.S. officials to keep it in place for the good of the American economy. New Hampshire Democrat Senator Jeanne Shaheen who was in Canada over the weekend for the Halifax International Security Forum, told CBC News it's imperative tariff talks between the two sides restart soon, and it's up to Trump to make that happen. Shaheen, along with the bipartisan group of the U.S. senators, passed legislation in the upper house to stop some of Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods, a push that failed after the Republican-dominated House declined to pass something similar. So again, this is why Canadians should be scared about CUSMA. They won't have a problem tearing up that deal. Things are about to get considerably worse for Canada, and I, for one, could not be happier, because not only does it fuel Alberta independence, but it also starts to show those elbows up voters what they asked for, who the real negotiator was in this situation. Don't mistake that for me saying that I want bad things to happen to Canadians. I just think that maybe it's a little overdue. While legislatively blocking Trump hasn't worked to this point, a pending Supreme Court decision potentially nullifying them, plus the deleterious effect of the tariffs, is what could get Trump back on the table, she said in an interview with CBC News' Rosemary Barton. Again, that holds no weight. Nothing's going to happen. Trump's popularity among voters has dropped off, especially among independents, and many voters have cited his tariffs policy as the reason why they have soured on him. Again, this is all fake news, or as Donald Trump would say, yeah, fake news. Coming out of the CBC. Every business I visited in New Hampshire has been hurt by tariffs, Shaheen said. The biggest issue I hear from my constituents is the rising cost of living and the impact of the tariffs on grocery prices. The United States and Canada have one of the most complementary trading relationships, one of the best friendships of any two countries in history, she said. We have missed you all this year. We want you to come back to the United States. And that's exactly why they're puckering up here. They want tourism dollars. The problem isn't the fact that people don't want to travel to the United States. It's the cost of the US to Canada dollar. It's that Canadians can't afford to go to the United States because Carney has made things worse in Canada. I think that all of this is going to blow up in Carney's face. I think he's shaking in his boots. Why else would he say, "Oh, all of a sudden, I'm contemplating a trip to Washington," after telling everybody he doesn't care about Donald Trump? I think the irony is hilarious. I think it's funny to see. Again, keep your ears to the tracks. I'll keep you alerted if that audio call comes in, folks. Let me know what you think's down below in the comments. Do you think things are about to get significantly worse for Mark Carney in Canada? Or do you think that this is him finally playing chicken with Donald Trump? I had to say that with a straight face. I already know what the answer is going to be. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, you leave a thumbs up and a comment down below. It helps drive this video out in YouTube's algorithm. Join me live twice weekly now, Wednesdays and Fridays, for Unhinged Fringe on Wednesdays with my new co-host Matt. Friday Night Fringe on Fridays with the beautiful Mrs. Fringe, as we talk about everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know coming up in the week ahead, as well as Q&A within the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I look forward to chatting with you guys outside of making these videos. I most importantly look forward to chatting with you this week, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.